Ah, the flowers are blooming, the skies grow warmer, and our clocks are now arbitrarily set 1 hour ahead. Hippity frickin' hoppity, idiots. Spring is on its way. So how are we to celebrate this momentous changing of the seasons in our lovely little world of Final Fantasy XIV? Why, by venerating a bunch of throat-stabbing fiends, of course. How else? Hi, I'm Cider Spider, and today we'll be checking out the latest Hatching Tide event in FF14. Hatching Tide is our Eorzean Easter equivalent. It's unequivocally whimsical, with fun activities integral and dumb proclivities interwoven some ridiculously festive show. Basically, a bunch of colorful eggs get put everywhere, and, mostly that's it. The backstory of this event is pretty simple. Jilly Aliapo had a dream one day about the 12 great archons riding 12 eggs, and since this was obviously some kind of deadly premonition, she decided to create an entire festival enacting it, as one does. So we go and have a chat with this kooky cat girl to figure out what this year's event is themed after, and the first thing you'll notice about her is her well-rounded, personality. Turns out her egg's all scrambled because this year she dreamt of Tonberries and has been trying to recreate that vision for the Hatching Tide. So she got in contact with this Chad named Hamlin who offered to create Tonberry costumes for everyone. All of that was well and great, but now a bunch of flying broccoli kids are harassing the event because they're jealous or something. Thus we speak with Jiggly's friend Hamlin, and the first thing you might notice about him is that he looks like a very erect Tonberry. So we have a quick chat with the lad and learn about his rock-solid plan to stop the Sylph menace. And since we've been on this event quest for about 5 minutes, you can probably guess what time it is. Because in your heart, you know it to be true. You know what you've got to do. It's time for, yes, that's right, walking around and talking to people. Well, kind of. We have to walk around while dressed as a Tonberry, and the people we're talking to are mischievous Cabbage Patch Kids that we need to scare away by threatening them with a knife. Thus we get suited up and dive on in. So we wander down the lane to our first victim and tell it we're going to shank it to death prison style if it doesn't get lost. Further on is another sylph when we threaten to dice like a head of lettuce, so it makes like a tree and leaves. Now all that's left is one sylph, which we promptly inform are going to give the Caesar treatment and not the salad kind. It runs away faster than a noob with a stack marker, and thus our job is officially well done. That was certainly some eggy, stabby fun. Anyway, we head back to Jiggly and Lambskin to inform them that the local vegetables won't butt their heads into our festival anymore, although it remains to be seen whether or not this was the tip of the iceberg. Not a moment goes by before Egg McBaby Stupid Socks runs into frame and informs us that we're not so aruga-lucky. The sylphs are in fact at it again, and this time they're attacking the egg shipments directly. This dumb baby Nonota begs us for a plan, and after thinking long and hard, Hamlin tells her she should change her name to No Throta cause we're about to assemble a Tonberry army and stick our rusty skewers in every Cabbage Patch Kid that dares to assault our precious eggs. Cause we gave them 3 warnings after all, so now it's time to turn them into coleslaw. So we head out to the Central Shroud where the next stage of the quest can begin. We now need to participate in a fate event, but it's more like a wait event because you're going to be standing here for like 10 minutes until this thing spawns. It might sound like I'm complaining, but I'm actually okay with this. Look at all these fellow dweebs standing around. Strike up a conversation while you wait, idiot. You might even make a friend. I mean, you probably won't, but whatever. So eventually a knocked over caravan just kind of magically fades into existence and we can start the fun. Hamlin's initial plan was simple. We recover the lost eggs while in Tonberry costumes and act scary to frighten off the Sylph bandits. The complication is that the Sylphs have hacked into the mainframe of the delivery mammoth, which is now going wild. Also, the Sylphs elected to combat our rusty knives with freaking tasers, meaning while the mammoth spins out of control, there are also stun AoEs everywhere. So you know you gon' get got, but you gotta get yours more than you get got though. Thus we do just that. After a couple of minutes and enough AoEs to make the average black mage uninstall, we successfully turn in enough eggs to complete the fate, and all is well. Next step is to simply return to the amphitheater and call it a day, so we do. With the egg shipment secure and the day saved, Hamlin's positively quivering with joy. Yet he can't help but be a little let down that no one was around in the forest to witness the full girth of his glory. Cause having folks recognize Tonberries for saving the day would simply be the glaze on the proverbial muffin. But just as our Tallberry friend is about to sag, 4 wayward NPCs from earlier appear and inform us that they did indeed see the seminal member of the Tonberry troop lead his soldiers to the eggs. Thus Tonberry kind can safely be given the admiration they so clearly deserve. Then one of the nameless randos wishes there was a simpler way to ward off sylphs, which leads us to suggest that there is, which really gets Hamlin's blood pumping. He suggests Tonberry-themed Archon eggs to celebrate the Hatching Tide and ward off any more opportunistic sylph saboteurs. Tiny stupid Egg Baby hears this and suggests that maybe Tonberry eggs were what Jiggly's original dream was about, and the two conspire to get some on order for the rest of the festival. Although because the eggs get delivered in sealed containers, they won't prevent further attacks on caravans, which means we might end up with a sell a repeat situation. Please laugh. So anyway, quest complete, moron. That's basically the whole event, so let's check out some of these rewards. For finishing the quest, you get the Frighten emote. It's pretty great, especially if you're feeling angry. The rest of the rewards are in a shop nearby, and you have to buy them with the currency you get from completing the Fate event. Doing the event once for the quest leaves you enough currency to get the full Tonberry suit. You also might notice that it's dyeable, which is why every city of every world is full of questionably shaped outfits. So yeah, there are far fewer chickens to choke this year, and instead a whole ton of, well, Tonberries, obviously. Also in the reward shop is the 8-bit version of Papaya, a promotional banner from the event, and some seasonal party favors. If you want those extra rewards, you'll have to run the Fate event again. I still can't figure out the target audience for these promotional banner images, but I guess it's not a bad thing to have more random posters to hang on our walls. Also, if you didn't already have it, this event unlocks Egg Hunter Riggy in the toy chest. This game sucks, and it barely pays out any Neo points, so I don't know why you'd ever waste your time on it, but it's there. Much like the last event, this one doesn't come with a list of additional cutscenes. Instead, it's got a handful of recognizable NPCs disguised as Tonberries that you can spot. First up is one of the very sylphs that caused this whole debacle, and he begs our forgiveness. Well, I'd really like to grab him by the collar and artichoke the bastard, but I suppose it's all watercress under the bridge now. We decide not to leak the sylph's identity and instead spinach around and leave. Next is a Gleaning Tonberry, which for all intents and purposes seems to be Aaronville. I have no idea how he fits his giant bunny ears under that stupid hat, but I suppose I could always ask a Hrothgar for that secret. Anyway, Aaronville's like Puddingway without the pudding. He's boring. So bye. Nearby are Yellow Moon and Redolent Rose from Ul'dah. Yellow Moon is of course the lovely lass who stands around the Weavers Guild and has an entire secret fan club, or so I've heard. Redolent Rose runs the Weavers Guild and bears a striking resemblance to a totally unrelated guy who gives me a crap ton of MGP every week. It's always good to see some underrated Robros in this cruel, catgirl-infested world. Also around are Arun and Raya Osena, as well as their stupid Moogle pals. Then these characters are pretty much exactly as boring as their older sister, but that's Gridania for you. Lastly were a pair I was happy to see, and I can't help but wonder if they're only exclusive to people who have done the level 80 Scholar quest. It's Alkazilka and Satoto, who, shall we say, have a long-standing connection to actual Tonberries. And I suppose now is a good time to mention some optional dialogue from the beginning of the quest wherein Hamlin decries those Tonberries as being unproven myths, thus invalidating any stupid thing he said out of his stupid mouth thereafter. So in summary, screw Hamlin. Anyway, that's pretty much everything. I feel like some of the nameless NPCs from this quest were probably from previous events or something, but as a giant noob, I have no way of recognizing them. Most likely the dialogue referencing a failed sylph hatching tied with tusk monsters is also some previous event, but yeah, I'm too much of a baby to remember such times. So how was this event? Well, honestly, it was decent. Most of it was just dialogue as per usual, but at least the dialogue was silly and fun compared to the last several events which told largely uninteresting stories. I always prefer events with gameplay and extras, and this one has a fun little integrated Fate event which made for an enjoyable few minutes getting the currency to pay for all the rewards. The whole thing felt a bit short, but that's the only complaint I can lodge against it, so I'd say I'm pretty happy with this one. Except for the whole everywhere is now full of Tonberry costumes thing. This is a nice glam set, and yet I'm already tired of seeing it. But old punk Satani Phil saw his shadow this year, so it's 6 more weeks of Tonberries, idiot. I think that's this one's cue to get back to hiding out in this one's house and turning Sylph one's corpses into salads. 1 like equals 1 salad, bye.